So here we are with a new chapter, chapter 10. And this chapter I like. It deals with money and banking. And so it'll be three parts. It'll be money and banking for this lecture. And then we'll have a lecture on the Federal Reserve. And then the last one will be a lecture on monetary policy. And probably have several parts to each lecture. And so let's start off and talking about why there's money. And first of all, the reason why there is money is because without money, it makes transactions very difficult. So without money, we would have a system known as a barter system. And a barter system means you exchange one good for another good. So it means you have to buy and sell something at the same time, which makes it sort of difficult. You need to have what economists call a double coincidence of wants, which means that your want to trade an item, say X, for an item Y must coincide with another person's want to trade item Y for your item X. So say you are a baker in town and you bake some bread, and you want to get, say, a pair of shoes. And so your wants of trading bread for a pair of shoes must coincide with the shoemaker's wants of trading shoes for bread. Now you may be lucky and the shoemaker across the street may want to trade the shoes that person just made for your loaf of bread, or may not. And you may have to go down to another shoemaker down the street, maybe across town. The problem is that all that time it takes to trying to find that one person for that trade cost us, and that cost is known as transaction cost. Transactions costs are the cost of conducting transactions. For example, if you travel to another country and you want to use your credit card, most likely the credit card company would charge you a foreign transaction fee, and so that would be an example of a monetary transaction cost. In the old days, you want to travel abroad, you would take what was called traveler's checks. And traveler's checks would take time. You have to go to a foreign bank and wait in line and then trade your traveler's checks for the local currency, and that would be a cost of a transaction. A cost of a transaction would be going down to the supermarket, waiting in line, having to maybe wait for the ATM machine to get some cash out to pay for your groceries. All that adds up as cost. And these costs represent time that could have been used doing something else in terms of these double coincidence of wants. So it might take you maybe 2 or 3 hours to find that one shoemaker in town to conduct that transaction. Those 2 or 3 hours could have been used baking more bread. And so that represents a cost to the economy. So to lower these transaction costs and allow us to be more efficient, societies have always strived to get some kind of a way to eliminate barter trade. And one way that we found that works pretty good is to change our system to a monetary system and use a thing called money. Now, first of all, understand that money is something that is invented by humans. It's not natural. I've had some students talk to me about the fact there is natural money and there's non-natural money. They talk about the US dollar, Federal Reserve notes, as being unnatural, but natural money would be something like gold or silver or Bitcoin. All of it is made up in terms of what we use as money. Yes, gold is out there already, but again, we decided to use gold as money. And again, this is something that society has to agree to in terms of how they create a monetary society. Now, what economists have learned is that if you want to have a monetary system, you need something out there that serves what economists call the three functions of money. And the first one is very important. It has a low bar in the sense that a lot of things can serve this function. And this function is known as a unit of account in your textbook, sometimes known as a standard of value. It's simply a way for us to measure the relative value of goods and services. So if you wanted to advertise selling something like your car and there was no money for you to convey to the potential buyer what your asking price was, that would be very difficult. If we had a barter system and you wanted to convey to a potential buyer what your asking price is, you would have a long list there. I mean, you might be willing to accept cans of soda, maybe tennis rackets, maybe video games, gallons of water, a lot of stuff there. So a lot easier just to say $10,000 or best offer as opposed to having a whole list of all these other commodities down there like sheep, goats, soda, things like that. Now, what could serve this function? A lot of things. We could have eggs as a unit of account. That's 20 eggs, that's 30 eggs. We could have jars of peanut butter. We could have stalks of celery. We could have T-shirts. We could have cat food, you name it. So a lot of things can serve this function. What makes it difficult are the next two functions. A lot of things cannot serve these functions. The second one is critical. This is a medium of exchange. This means people will accept this money, this medium of exchange, as payment for goods and services. The problem with this is that your goods and services have real value. If you, again, bake a loaf of bread, that has real value. That can be consumed by people. It's something we can eat. A pair of shoes, again, that has real value. Put on your feet, keeps them warm, dry, protects them. Why would I trade my loaf of bread that I spent time and materials creating for your thing called money? My bread has value. Your money may or may not have value. Which means that the first kind of forms of money we had were things that had what economists call intrinsic value. So you're willing to trade your bread for this monetary form because whatever this monetary form is, it has intrinsic value. That made people accepting your form of money much easier. And we'll get to that in just a minute. But the key thing here is that once we agreed on a medium of exchange, we no longer need this anymore. Your double coincidence of once. That's because if I have a loaf of bread, I can sell it to anyone for money. So someone walks in the store and they give me money. And then I can take my money over to the shoemaker, give them the money that I got from baking my bread, selling my bread, and I get my pair of shoes finally. A lot easier to conduct the transaction. I sell my bread to anyone who wants to buy bread and has money. And then I can take my money to any shoe store in town to get my pair of shoes. Transactions are done a lot faster, quicker. I buy my pair of shoes in 5 minutes. I'm back to my bakery and I'm baking more bread and I can make more money and therefore I can buy more things. Overall, much more efficient to run your society that way. Now, the last thing we need is for this medium of exchange to work, it needs to hold its value. If it does not hold its value, then it's not going to work as a medium of exchange. That's why when I mentioned eggs as a unit of account, eggs would not be a good form of a medium of exchange because eggs do not have value. They may stay fresh for a week in the fridge. After that, they turn bad and they rot in the nose of my eggs. So things that can rot, that can evaporate, deteriorate, would not be good forms of money. And this narrows our list as to what we can use for money. Again, the store of value is the ability to maintain purchasing power, and this determines whether a medium of exchange remains a medium of exchange. The problem nowadays with our monetary form of dollars is that, or your European euros or any kind of currency, is that if the government or the central bank creates too much of it, they can also destroy its value. And once you destroy the value, either through eggs rotting or through too much creation of money, that will destroy your monetary system. Now, there's also some desirable properties of money. These are not necessary to have, but it makes whatever you pick work better as money. So you like things that are durable, again, does not rot or evaporate. That holds on to its store of value. Something divisible would be nice, so you can give change. Having your system based on horses would not be, in my view, a good form of money since it's hard to give change for horses. It also sounds kind of gruesome. Portable, easy to carry into town, easy to hide from thieves. That makes, again, much more useful as a form of money. Standardized. It's all the same thing. And so when you walk in with your money, whatever it is, you put it down on the table, everyone recognizes it, everyone understands what it is, and again, it makes the exchange much easier. We'll talk about gold in just a minute. People think that gold is a good form of money, and it's okay, but it's not standardized. Someone comes in with some gold powder or gold nuggets. I'm a baker. I'm selling bread. I'm not an expert in gold. I don't know if that's real gold. I don't know the purity of it, how much it weighs. So then we have to go over and get it assessed by someone, and they have to determine the validity of it, how much it's worth, and so forth, and that all takes time. You probably have to pay for that service as well. So something that's standardized, again, makes it easier to use things as money. And that's why when gold eventually did become a form of money, it was much easier to use if it was put into a coin shape. The monarch, the king, the queen would mint the coins, and they would guarantee the purity of it and the weight. And those coins were only as good as the backing of the monarch or the king in terms of whether you believe that person or not, or the government officials. And then a stable supply also, again, does not mean it gets over created, which again can drive the value down. So first forms of money came in many different forms all around the world. And again, these first forms of money had to have intrinsic value. That means they have value in their non-monetary form. And we call that commodity money. There's going to be three forms of money in this chapter, and the first one is commodity money. Commodity money was the first type of money that was created by societies. And again, these all had value in the non-monetary form, which means if other people did not want to accept them, you could always consume it yourself. Cacao beans you can grind down, you can make drinks out of it. Almonds you can eat if no one else wants them. Bricks of tea in Mongolia. Again, you can brew your tea out of it. Butter in Norway, colder up there, could last longer. Dried cod from medieval Europe, that could be used again as money, and if people don't want it, you can always eat it. So again, I'm willing to trade my loaf of bread for these things here because again, if no one wants to accept bricks of tea after I sold my bread for them, I can at least again make tea out of whatever the bricks of tea that I got. Deer skins in North America, sort of the reason why we call $1 a buck. Watch World War II prisoner movies, you would see that you would use cigarettes as a form of currency. Again, people smoke a lot more back then than now. And again, if no one wants to accept your cigarettes as payment for something, you can always smoke them yourself. I will stop there and come back for part 2.